pregnant with this business to run, the pressures were on. I was not going to let that go down the pan. I was in labour in hospital on my hands and knees, emailing customers. I was picking up pennies.
Who has got you through that?
My kids. There's not very many people that understand business and the sacrifices you've got to make, and it's always family first, but sometimes the business has got to come first, and there's other people's mortgages to pay as well as yours, and you know, that pressure.
Are you proud of yourself and what you've achieved?
Hi Anna, it's great to have you on the Real Talk podcast today. Looking forward to hearing your business journey today. So for all the listeners who don't know you, if you want to introduce yourself, your business and what you do.
My name's Anna Miller. I own Anway Washrooms. We are a washroom services business with a clinical waste station, and that's it.
Fantastic. How long have you been going? How long have you been in business?
I'm in my 18th year.
Wow. And has it been a straightforward 18 years?
No, very turbulent. It's been a very turbulent journey.
Anna, can we start at the beginning? Why did you set up?
So I used to, in my early 20s, I worked for a franchise business that used to outsource washroom services, and I saw a gap in the market then. Became pregnant and thought this would be my chance to
kind of step out and do something for yourself.
Yeah.
And how did you find them first couple of months setting up your own business?
Well, if I go back a little bit, I had a bit of a turbulent childhood. So at 15, I was living in a shared house with a load of students, paying for myself to go to school by being selling conservatories in telesales and doing my GCSEs. So when I found myself pregnant, I thought I wanted better for my children. So that really was my catalyst to start Anway. So I set Anway up under my stairs in my house while I was in maternity leave. Wow. Really just, wanting to do better for my children.
Wow. So just take me back to 15. So at 15-year-old, you was what, sorry?
I was working selling conservatories at telesales. I'm paying for myself to go to school.
Okay. And why was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Just victim of circumstances, let's say.
Okay. Can you go into any more detail on that, or?
Well, I found myself without any parents. I didn't have a father, and my mother, I was estranged from her. Okay. So I'd lived with a stepfather, and then that fell apart, and it was sort of sink or swim. So had an extended family that were there, but no one that could take me in.
And how do you think that set you up for setting up your own business?
It just made me resilient. It was just that determination to when you work, you get a reward. So when I was selling the conservatories, I was earning £200 or £300 a week selling conservatories. Wow. While being at school, and that taught me really quickly that if you put the effort in, there was money to be had.
Okay. And then you said in your 20s you then set up on your own? Yeah.
So I set up by myself. Like I said, under the stairs of my home.
Whilst on maternity?
Whilst on maternity, and then found myself pregnant again. So when my daughter was 6 months old, I was pregnant again. Okay. So it made me I can remember doing my first NHS contract. I dealt on my first NHS contract under the stairs on the telephone, breastfeeding, thinking, please don't cry. I've got this now, nailed it. And you just, that win keeps you going.
And was that the first big deal then?
That was the first big deal.
And how big was that deal?
10 grand, but at the time it was massive.
Wow. And how did you feel at that point then?
Just, I've got to do this. And it keeps you going. You know?
And was you on your own, or did you have any staff that was working for you?
No, I had my stepdad, a previous stepdad. He was doing the servicing for me at the time, which is where I got my name, Anway. He was called Wayne.
Oh, right, okay.
I was going to ask that, like, where did the name come from?
So, but that broke down a few years later, even though we were still, good friends.
So fast forward into 6 months, 12 months of having a business, what was your successes and biggest challenges within that first year?
Well, I think my biggest challenges were, and looking back, was probably my own fault, was I wouldn't let my kids go into childcare. I thought I needed to look after them and they needed to be mine. So I'd be dragging around to every play centre, kids club, church hall, like fast food place, you know, and I'd just be selling to them because I could sell while I got them. So that was really the the NHS contract and those type of customers, you know, in bars and restaurants, people I could call on an evening, working men's clubs, you know, I just worked around the girls.
I don't personally know, but my wife, we've got 2 children, how stressful, straining, mentally exhausting it is having children. So how did you manage to have 2 children and running a business on your own?
I don't even know how I did it. Yeah, age was on my back, you know, I was in my 20s. And just that, I loved the win. And I suppose it was the wins that kept me going. And I wanted to give them everything I'd never had. So I put them through private school. Wow. It was like that challenge then, so that bill had to come in. I had to pay that bill. I just loaded myself, I suppose, with those pressures that just kept me going.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people, a lot of listeners will kind of relate to that, like women and mothers in business, as well as men as well. But I think more so, there's always that, I don't know, everyone seems to think like the mother looks after, it's an old-fashioned thing, like I suppose it shouldn't be that way, but the mum should stay at home, look after the kids, and kind of overcoming that in business. You've got 2 young kids, you've started your own business, and like you say, you want to look after them, you want to win at everything, you want to be great at everything, and it is difficult and it's challenges, and I think a lot of people would relate to that and feeling like that as a mum.
Yeah, I mean, my ex-husband, he also had his own business, so he was out earning and working long hours, so there were, you know, so I got a little bit of a taste of what it was like. So I used to do his books as well, so I knew what it was. I knew the background of running a business because we'd set that up at 19.
What was the driver then in that initial stage? Was it your own motivation to succeed, or was it that you had 2 children and you wanted them to be proud of you? What was it that drove it?
It was always for the kids. It was always for the kids.
And what's kept you motivated 15 years on?
Well, that sort of ticked along until I got to 39, and then at 39 I was pregnant again, going through a divorce. So I was single, parent, pregnant with this business to run. So the pressures were on, and we'd done all right financially. You know, the kids had a nice carry-on, and I was not going to let that go down the pan. So I dug deep then in my late 30s and thought, right, I need to get to that business needs to get to that next level. So I spent that 9 months of pregnancy, seems to be the catalyst for my growth every time. And I landed a massive national contract, my first national. And I needed to make that work, obviously, heavily pregnant. I went into labour loading pallets on, you know, in my unit. I used to go and see the client through my pregnancy, and they didn't know until I got 3 weeks to go I hid it, because I thought they would renege on that opportunity.
And how long ago was that?
It was before lockdown.
Before lockdown.
Just before lockdown. So I went into labour, I say, loading those pallets, and I was in labour in hospital on my hands and knees, emailing customers and taking telephone calls. And I can remember the New Era development. I could have landed that while I was in between gas and air. Yeah. Obviously had faith. And I named her that because I needed a little bit of faith at that time. And lockdown happened, and I'd invested £200,000 into this massive contract, and they were shut.
Wow.
This sounds like there's been huge successes in this last 15 years, but it also seems like there's been such challenging times for you that you've needed that real resilience. Who has got you through that?
My kids.
Your children.
Yeah. And that want to them to never have to go through what I went through.
Do you think that's the driver in terms of your previous experiences?
Yeah,
then?
100%.
I think you've got to have that. There's got to be that driver. I think kids is a massive driver for a lot of people. It's being able to give them, like you say, what you might have not necessarily had. And you don't want to disappoint your kids at the end of the day.
No, and you know what? I've learnt some lessons because I probably haven't always been present. So yeah, I was at every parents' evening, every sports day, but I wasn't present. You know, I'd be on the phone, they'd be in the back of the car delivering bog roll, and it'd be New Year's Eve, and I'd be like, you know, I can't let my customers down. We're going to have to do here, and we're stopping off here while we're there, and you know, I'm checking bins in toilets, making sure I've got services are done properly, and so you know, I feel like I failed in some ways still.
Do you think they think that? Do you think they've learnt from you and seen you as a strong mum and going out and doing these things? Do you think it's helped them make them who they are?
Well, I hope so. You know, I've got.
You never know with kids, right? They
don't.
they probably won't tell you.
Now, they'll probably tell me some home truths.
Are you proud of yourself and what you've achieved?
Yeah. I'm proud of my kids. So I'm proud of what I've been able to give them in that journey, and those experiences. And I do look back sometimes and think, God, how did I do that?
Not how have I got here?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. I think the one thing, hopefully you take a bit of peace from that, but I think all business owners that have got children or partners sometimes regret not being present in the moment, whether that's sat having tea, watching your son play football, whatever it is. Do you now you're aware of who you wish you were, do you feel you're more present in the moments that you're in now?
Yeah, I'm better. I'm a lot better, I suppose, since COVID, you know, and I suppose I look now and think I'm in my 40s. I don't want to be them same mistakes that I made in my 20s. I've got another chance to be a mom now, face, you know, 3. It's like another chance.
Fantastic.
And the girls are getting ready, you know, Scarlett will be 18 this year. She'll be leaving home, you know, it's, you know, and it's like last chance saloon.
Do you think there was like a pivotal point at where you thought, right, I need to be more present, and you kind of implemented that change? What did you do to implement that change to be more present?
I think probably the worst point was when COVID we were in lockdown. I had to really change the way the business worked to survive. Obviously, I just laid out that 200,000 quid that were gone, so my business buffer that I always had was spent. With no return imminent, because we didn't know when we were going to be opening up. So I got a clinical weigh station, and I just really drove that side of the business. So I'd be getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, feeding the baby. My teenagers would be looking after the baby, or my ex-husband would have her, and I'd be out on the road sorting things out. I don't want to be sending staff out to things to this virus that could potentially kill. So I went out. And I took a load of the waste, and I'd test it and put procedures in place to make sure bins were quarantined for the right amount of time, so that the waste would be safe for my staff to take it. And, you know, I doubled my turnover in COVID, which was brilliant, but it was hard work, you know. And as a family, we had to really step up together.
What shines through is hard work, but there's much more behind you. That I can see it, I can feel it. What other qualities do you feel that you've got other than hard work?
I would never ask my staff to do anything that I wouldn't do. We've got a good, strong team that is based on giving out the best service. And I think if you care and you're good to people, they're good to you. So you build a good team. And Anway's a good team.
How many staff have you got currently?
We're on, I think we're short of 15 now, so we're still quite a small team, because obviously we outsource.
Yeah.
But
if I was to speak to some of your team, how do you think they'll describe you?
I think I had a member of staff recently that and broke his foot whilst trying to get to work. He tripped over getting into the van, but because he's a loyal, great member of the staff, he decided to try and drive to work thinking he would shake it off, and he broke his foot. So
he would shake what? The brake? Just give it a quick
like,
shake. I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Can't let Anna down. You know, that type of. He was an amazing member of staff, and he rang me up on the motorway crying, like in agony, like, "Oh my God, Anna, I don't want to let you down." So obviously I jumped out of bed, and when I got him, I took him to the hospital. I took care of him. I made sure he got home. You know, we're a team, so we look after each other.
And do you think that's how they describe you as a leader?
Yeah.
Fantastic. What areas do you think they would say that you need to work on as a leader?
Well, this is what I've been working on with Action Coach for this past year is I'm 100 miles an hour. I expect everybody to be 100 miles an hour with me. And if we're to push through this customer service and things being done properly and systems, it's about slowing down a little bit and, planning a little bit calmer.
And do you feel you are a little bit calmer and planning?
Better.
You're better.
Which is great, really. That's progress at the end of the day.
Yeah. And, that business that pre-COVID is triple the size now, if not more. And, I've had to get new skills so the business is different now.
Do you mind me asking what the turnover was in year one to where it is now? You don't have to answer that if you don't want.
As in year one, as 18 years ago or pre-COVID?
Yeah,
Well,
no,
obviously,
18 years ago.
Well, it started
first
as
year.
nothing. It started, that probably turned out, I probably sort of went like 15, 25. It was a really slow growth because obviously I was picking up pennies, growing it. Obviously we got the NHS contract, which helped, but.
And do you mind saying where you are now in terms of turnover wise?
We're about £1 million mark.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Who do you have in your circle that you can trust? And if you're having a bad day, you're stressed out, or you need some business advice, who do you go to?
Well, there hasn't really been anyone, hence why I took on Action Coach, because I've got a great circle of friends that I've known since junior school, and they've become like my family, and they are brilliant with a support network, but there's not very many people that understand the business and the sacrifices you've got to make, and it's always family first, but sometimes the business has got to come first, and there's other people's mortgages to pay as well as yours, and that pressure. It's not, there isn't really, it's a lonely world being a director.
I hear that quite a lot. It's lonely, lonely and on your own, and not having that person to be that sounding board and having that person to go to, because everyone, if you've got 15 staff, I bet they come to you looking for direction and advice and things like that, but then who do you turn to? We're all human at the end of the day, and I think it's so important to have that kind of person or few people as individuals, having that circle of people to be able to kind of say things out loud and bounce those ideas and is this the right decision? Kind of thing, move forward.
They're the things that keep you up at night.
So how do you manage that pressure and that loneliness to keep going?
You just manage it. You just have to.
Is there anything in particular, any strategies or tips that you could share with us?
I think not reacting straight away is always a good thing, because that knee-jerk reaction is sometimes a little bit dangerous. So taking a little bit of time and thinking things through, writing things down, always helps. And I always work closely with my customers, and I'm quite happy to say, what's wrong? How would you like us to be better? And if you're open to feedback and don't take things personal.
Fantastic. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I'll say some of them on there.
Of course you can. What is it? We want to know now. We want to know.
There's loads. Employee. I always struggled to employ people at that middle management level, and would want to. It's a bit of a control freak, and handing over the reins to people has been like a lifeline for me, and that's only happened this past year, because I got to the point where I just couldn't do it all anymore myself. But that has been a light bulb moment, passing things on and coming into work in the morning and being dealt with. It's amazing, without you having to force that. That took me some time.
I was going to say, did you struggle to hand those reins over and to be able, because let's be honest, for a lot of people, it's it's quicker if I do that, it's better if I can do that better, and that's your baby. You are passionate, and you've put a lot of dedication over the last 18 years into building and creating what Anway is now. But then to be able to then say to someone and trust someone enough to hand them the reins to deal with things, did you find it quite tough?
Yeah, so every minute I haven't spent with my children has been on building my business. So it's like a block, it's like a wall of really personal, you know, that every minute that's been spent is worth more than money. It's been time I've given up. Yeah. So when I'm handing the reins over to somebody, it's not what I looked at was skill set before. And yeah, that's important. But like John was trying to drill into me, it's about what your culture is as a business and finding somebody that matches those cultural beliefs that, you know, so if they match your beliefs and have that same ethic as what you've got, and you can work with that person. And some of you've got to put them through training courses or, you know, to build up a skills, then do that instead. And I found that's worked better for me.
Have you ever been burnt, like when you've been passed over?
Yeah, loads of times.
What made, at that point, obviously you've done that, you've took that trust out in that person or that individual and people, and they've not delivered of what you expected them to deliver. How did you deal with that situation?
That brings the worst out in me, like a firework of like upset. Younger Anna, older Anna now is calmer, because as long as you fix the problem, as long as you make the customer happy, then, you know, that's all you can do.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you just mentioned there about kind of thinking before you react as well. Yeah. Like, and just taking a step back, like this is a situation they've got, what is the best way of handling with that? And yeah, I think that goes down to your personality as well, doesn't it? It's kind of, but learning and having that knowledge of you like that helps. That's the key, isn't it? It's actually having that acknowledgement of this is how I usually work and this is what I usually do.
Yeah, I'd have loved to, you know, if I could have gone back in time, which obviously you can't, I think my business would have grown quicker if I'd have learnt these skills earlier in life. But that me being adamant to keep hold of it all actually stumped my growth.
You talk a lot about staff being happy. Customer service seems like it's at the top of your list. Your children being happy. I don't this in too much of a personal question, but are you happy?
Yes, I wasn't. I got to that late 30s and I was deeply unhappy that I dug myself into this hole of like Groundhog Day with work and kids, and that had to break. And so I'm happier now that I'm not under so much pressure. And then I'm actually seeing better growth, better return, business growing quicker, just out of being a better employer.
Was there a key moment where you had that realisation, like I need to do things different, or I'm just going to keep getting the same results? I
think coming out of lockdown, the business being bigger than it was before. Anyone that's had teenagers, you know, you have these teenagers throwing things at you, and it was at that sort of moment I thought, you know, there's only I can't do it. I can't do it all now. I need some help.
How did you feel there? Was it overwhelmed or overwhelmed?
Yeah, overwhelming.
Wow. And what did you do to come out of that then?
Well, I got some help. I got learned some new skills.
Okay.
I had a good look at myself, because I've always taken the onus on. I'm not a blamer of everybody else. You put these things on yourself and you have to fix them. You know, and this same rule of like chucking as much poo on the wall.
You can say it.
Real talk.
Then that wasn't working anymore, was it? So I had to get more strategic.
Something's got to change.
Yeah.
So the business as well, but more about you and your family. Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time?
So the girls are coming to age where one's left school, one's leaving school. They're now looking at their journeys of what they want to do. One of them spoke about coming to work for me, but I'd like them, which I took as a compliment.
Yeah,
thought,
definitely.
Wow, you actually like me, want to work with me, that's nice. But I said, no, go out, you've got to go out and live, get your own skill set. You know, Anway will still be here, and you know, Faith will be 4 soon, and she'll be going to school. So there'll be a whole new growth for the business, and I can dedicate time to it in a different way, but still enjoy my kids and separate that home life from work life, which I've just struggled to do before.
But you feel that you're better now than you were?
Better. My friends would laugh. They'd be, you know, we're on Ecclesall Road on a night out, come and meet us, and I'd have a taxi full of toilet rolls, and we'd have to drop toilet rolls off on nights out, and they'd be like, Like, what you did, like, did you?
Love that.
I'd never miss an opportunity to
Love
get
that.
something else in.
So we're coming to the end, and we've got 2 questions that we ask at the end. So first question is, what 3 traits or behaviours have served you well over these 15 years in business?
3.
3.
Well, I was a natural salesperson from the beginning. So I think being able to sell is what has grown Anway. And I enjoy it. The resilience when it's hard. I think I naturally can just overcome an obstacle. My friends call me the fixer, if they've got a problem.
Anna's going to solve it.
We solve it.
And a third?
Hard work.
Fantastic. And the last question, what advice would you give to a younger Anna 15, 18 years ago?
Outsource stuff, in order to grow, you've got to recruit. And I just really struggled with that for so long.
Delegate.
Yeah.
Can't do everything yourself.
No, pick your strengths and recruit your weaknesses.
I think this has been extremely inspirational, and I think there's much more when you strip the layers back than hard work and resilience. There's somebody there that is super talented.
True inspiration.
Yeah, true inspiration to manage what you manage and to bring a business from 0 to £1 million or just short is phenomenal. And I think people will really enjoy listening and watching this. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.